Okay. All right. So this is what I've been. I've been working on this for the last like 2 weeks or so. This is like now that I've been empowered by the Microsoft Excel. It's like Luffy Gear 5th. It's like this is my peak. Uh, I have been. This is basically just a more complete and holistic version of what I was already doing with Cammy, kind of. But this is way more things that I'm calculating and including and measuring next to each other and stuff. And then long term, at the end of this project, I would like to have a fucking overall, like, sort of mechanical calculation for what the optimal decision making is in most circumstances. The optimal, like, damage, routing, statistical value of certain mix-up scenarios, statistical risk-reward and what rates, etc. Just like I did with the Zangief video, where I did the math to demonstrate, like, what statistical rate of certain options being successful need to be hit at a bare minimum for their relative value to supersede other things that you could do instead. So anyways, in my measuring, this is like updated for season 2. This is all redone for season 2. So in my measuring of shit, of all the combo routings from different spacings, from different whatever, there's a couple flaws that are like, there's a couple circumstances in this where the calculations cannot be entirely accurate. For example, the way I calculate corner oki is that I calculate the corner oki position, specifically the throw loop, so long as you're in range for the throw loop, which is about 0.23 squares outside of furthest corner positioning is where Cammy can engage her throw loop. But specifically, I count that as like a separate sort of oki where your positioning and whatever is superior. But in doing so, I have to negate the value of corner carry once you're already in the corner, which overall doesn't entirely make sense because, like, for instance, let's say you land like a combo from, you're in the corner here and you land some sort of combo and it takes the opponent all the way to the other corner, but my calculations have to be based on the combo itself and the eventual position that it leads you to, and they're not at all based on what circumstances you had before the start of the combo, like how far you were into your own corner, etc. So it would calculate that as like having normal corner oki. So like the value of corner carry, as I've calculated, which I've increased the rate of the calculation to 70 per square instead of like 50 or 40 or however I had it the last time that I when I posted my Cammy optimization video a while back. And the reason why I've increased it is because in like brain fart, I fucking realized that corner carry is not just the act of taking your opponent closer to the corner where you have more optimal position making, but corner carry is also removing yourself from a more detrimental position. So it has the added defensive benefit of giving yourself more space behind you, which means it's not just, you know, whatever offense plus the oki you get from your knockdown. It is removing yourself from disadvantage. So that's why in the current calculation, some of these values for corner positioning, if the combo reaches the corner, don't actually make sense in broad circumstances, because the value of a combo that puts the opponent in the corner would obviously be different if you were already in the corner and just doing a basic corner combo like whatever, versus if you were further away and you did a combo that removed yourself from disadvantage. And that's especially the case, god damn it, that's especially the case if you're like in the corner yourself. If you get a combo that takes you out of the corner and puts the opponent in the corner, either through a side switch or just, like, outrageously fucking massive corner carry. Then, you know, the circumstance is different, because in that circumstance, the value of the combo is actually drastically increased, because it's not only, obviously, the value that you get at the end of it, but it's the fact that you reversed a bad situation. So, that is an area where my current numbers don't reflect, like, all the circumstances that could occur, and some of these numbers should actually increase. Now, that is good on the whole, because that means that all of these numbers are low-ball estimates, which means that in certain circumstances, especially combos with high corner carry, have the propensity to reach higher levels of value relative to drive gauge spent or super spent. So, anyways, the way I am calculating this, the way I've calculated this, or the way I rate these, you know, I put green good, yellow is kind of red bad, etc. For routings. And the way I rate these is I put the overall value increase based on the amount of drive gauge difference between, like, if you could do, like, one B&B versus another route that you could have. Any combo off of, like, a similar start or whatever, I compare to each other, and I compare versus different circumstances. So in this instance, right, so, like, this combo right here is the comparison of doing crouching medium kick drive rush into back roundhouse and a standing opponent, then drive rush, stand heavy punch, light knuckle, light spiral arrow, heavy spike. So that would be, like, as I have put right here, that works from, like, 3.65, which means it works from 3.45 squares from the corner, which is about, here. So that means that, this combo... No, I did it wrong. 3.45, hang on. Am I fucking this up? Background house, drive rush, light knuckle, like spiral arrow. Am I mismeasuring this, or did I just do this wrong? I think I actually put these backwards. Yeah, so this should be 3.45, and then this should be 3.65. Okay, that makes more sense. Fuck that up, whatever. Some of these might have, like I said, the document is not complete, I'm still going back through it. But anyways, the point of this is that for this routing versus the default, which you would do, which is this, crouch medium kick. So this I consider to be the B&B. I know some people have, like, said, oh, what about the worst Oki in mid-screen? The way I'm measuring it, they're very comparable. But remember, corner carry is not just carry, it's also removing yourself. It's also removing yourself from potential threat, so it has a double value. It gets you closer to the corner, where Cammy's actually more effective. If you have full drive gauge, you get a perfectly nice setup after this with 1 bar of drive gauge, which is very effective. And you build a shitload of super gauge from it, and her lights are plenty effective. And even if you're all the way ass end into the corner, if you land the next lights after the knockdown, no matter where you are, the level 1 will get you all the way to the corner. So, you know, all those are being considered. The outrageous carry, the position afterwards, etc. And the main thing is the super gain, but the actual main thing is the drive gauge gain. So if you did like if you got like a shimmy and you did like a normal combo like that, right? That rebuilds you like 1.2 bars of drive gauge versus that builds you like fucking 1.7 bars of drive gauge. In addition to being better, having more carry, doing more damage, and building a significant amount more super gain. So, I do not consider those comparable. Well, they are comparable, but I consider that to still be better. In mid-screen, as you can see, I've measured out the heavy spiral route as well. It's comparable to a similar margin. I've also done this one, which is relatively equal because of the superior Oki. It's relatively equal in mid-screen. Less corner carry, less super gauge, by a smaller amount, but better Oki mid-screen, etc. As for a drive rush, where the drive rush cancel obviously kills your drive gauge build. If you don't have a drive gauge penalty, the standing heavy punch is no question always the best because of the absurd amount of drive gauge you regen. Anyways, so some people complain about that, but whatever. I consider that to be like the B&B, but in terms of overall value, I think they're actually very similar between doing that versus doing that. Very similar relative values. Anyways, so that means that I calculate this combo, which is the back roundhouse and a standing opponent, drive rush, stand heavy punch, light knuckle, light spiral arrow, heavy spike, which you can do from 3.35 squares away from the corner, or technically, so you can do it at 3.75 squares on the screen, which is an easier way because your distance from the corner is not complete. Like, the stage, this is the other thing, is that the stage is 8 squares long on the grid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and it's the 8th square. However, your character physically cannot get to 8, okay? Because the opponent's body occupies the final stretch of the corner, so your character, the furthest they can reach is like 7.3. 7.3 squares. Now, Cammy can engage her throw loop from 7.1 or further back. She can, so whatever. So I consider 7.1 to be the actual distance of the screen. Anyways, so that's what the point of this shit is. But anyways, so that means that if I calculate the value of, if this combo, which has less corner carry than just doing this, okay, so this combo has less corner carry, sorry, if I do it from here, that has huge corner carry, so if I do this combo, which has less corner carry, so if you can do it, you can already corner with the other one, so I measure the rates of this value, the value of this in the corner, remove the arbitrary calculation for drive gauge, relatively speaking, compare it to the value of the corner position from the normal route, and then do it by the difference between the drive gauges. So there and there, that calculates out to 548 value per drive gauge difference between those two combos. Now, I consider 300 value per drive gauge, per bar of drive gauge, to be very good. I consider 300 to be the baseline benchmark to shoot for. Now, let me explain a couple of things about the... So, yeah, in general, I believe that 300 value per bar of drive gauge is a good benchmark to shoot for when you're extending combos. If you are full on drive gauge, as in you would be wasting drive gauge to not extend it, I consider 250 or 225 to be a good benchmark to shoot for. I say 250, and then I would like 300 or maybe 350 value per bar of drive gauge to be the rate to shoot for. So I have demarcated and color-coded combos that, with their extensions relative to the less drive gauge intensive routes, I've demarcated them for yellow is anything that's like above 220 but below 300, and then green is anything 300 and above. And then for supers, I consider, the way I color-coded them is that anything that is 600 value per bar of super spent is good. I put it as green. I put 450 to 600 in the yellow, and then anything under 450 in the red. So that is how I have measured supers. Now, here's the thing that you need to understand, right? So, this, great value. Let's talk about another theoretical situation. Let's say, just on block, right? On block, if we come in and we do like crouch medium punch by itself, not hit confirmable. Crouch medium kick, not hit confirmable. The only way we get much off of that, we can do crouch strong into light knuckle and that'll combo on hit. So we have options there, but the point is that if we just do this by itself, or by itself, we get small value if it hits, small value if we drive rush cancel. We spend 3 bars. We're technically spending more than 3 bars, because even though we regenerate a small chunk on the crouching button, the medium button that we do, we're also left in a lingering drive gauge penalty where there's a significant delay before our drive gauge starts to regenerate again. So I consider this actually to be minus like 3.1, because we generate like more than that, but then we also lose more than 3, technically speaking, with the drive gauge penalty. Now, the drive gauge penalty will affect you evenly no matter what you do. So even if you do like another button afterwards, which builds you a chunk of drive gauge, you still are not engaging the passive drive gauge regeneration that comes, as you're seeing right there, where it just builds slowly over time, the drive gauge bar, which means that it is essentially like consistent. Like the drive gauge that you lose by spending it, plus the amount of drive gauge that you lose during the period of time where you're left in a lingering drive gauge penalty, is consistent no matter what the fuck you do afterwards, except for if you immediately spend drive gauge again, in which case you replace the previous drive gauge penalty with a new drive gauge penalty. Now, the drive gauge penalty for a raw drive rush is significantly higher than the drive gauge penalty for a drive rush cancel. Like that. Anyways, that's some, you know, statistical... Ow, my fuck. I'm drowning. I'm choking on my own soft drink. Okay. So, the point is, let's say we do crouch strong, drive rush back strong, and then we get a mix-up from this, where if we hadn't done the drive rush cancel, we just wouldn't, we'd still be in neutral, right? So if we spend it on this, we burn through a little bit of his bar on block, and that's a true block string right there. So if he's blocking, we do that. If he does a drive reversal, which they won't usually do, but I could calculate that. I haven't yet. That's one thing I'm going to do soon. But anyways, the point is that this is an interesting benchmark to understand. If we're in mid-screen and we do a crouch strong on block, drive rush cancel back strong, and then we are +3 in throw range, we can shimmy, we can do a strike, so we can do strike, throw, shimmy, and if the throw hits, that is an equivalent of the meter that we spent to get this mix-up situation. That is an equivalent of 626 value per drive gauge, per bar of drive gauge. So, much higher than the 300 benchmark that I said. However, obviously, this is not guaranteed. This is if the throw is successful. If the shimmy is successful, we're talking about 2,124 value per drive gauge. An outrageous amount of value. If just the regular strike, which there's a number of combos you may do with stand medium punch or lights or back strong or whatever. But anyways, this using the stand medium punch, stand light kick, spiral arrow as a default, which is not a counter hit conversion. If you get a counter hit, you'll get a much higher value. It would be closer to this, like probably 1,800 something. But anyways, strike by itself, if they like backdash or jump out, in this circumstance, 991 value per drive gauge bar. So all 3 of these options, if they are successful, significantly higher for, like, bang for your buck. You're getting more value from doing this on block and creating this circumstance, so long as you guess right. If you get the throw, the shimmy, or the strike afterwards, to those varying degrees and rates, you are getting that much more value per bar of drive gauge that you're spending to create this situation than you would be if you spent drive gauge on a combo like that. That has a much, much, much smaller amount of added value for your drive gauge spend. With that in mind, this is like a sort of baseline to understand about how much value you're getting per each resource that you're spending. And then, but also, if you do random crouch medium punch or crouch medium kick, and then just raw drive rush cancel them when they make contact, they're not always on block. Sometimes, ideally, more than half of the time, they'll actually be on hit, on normal hit or on counter hit or something, more ideally on punish counter, and in those circumstances, you are getting about 1,027 value per drive gauge spent. That's off of Crouch Strong. The crouching medium kick would have more damage scaling, so it would probably be closer to around 700. In fact, I can calculate that right now. Crouch medium kick by itself does whatever, 500, etc. So 500, 0, 0.33. I think it has the same super gain as this. 2, 3, yeah, it does. So 0.33, 0. The drive gauge that you build from it is... So that builds you about that much. That builds you slightly less. Let's say 0.2. 0.2, 0.1. And then, if we do the drive rush route, actually, relatively speaking, let me go back up here to the crouch strong route, at which point this one would be the higher value in mid-screen based on my calculations, but whatever. They're debatable. That's like a small margin of error. Anyways, so, off of this routing, 2045. So 2045, and then all the rest will be exactly the same. So that, copy this calculation. So, yeah, like I said, it's actually higher than I thought it would be. Alright, 881 value per drive gauge. So, those are astronomically higher than any value increase you can get from a combo. Okay? Or most combos. Now, so... using that as a benchmark, that's why I don't think you should even bother doing combo routes that are hitting below 300 value per drive gauge, because I genuinely think, statistically speaking, it makes more sense at that point to just save your drive gauge and then just use it to skip neutral and create some drive rush mix afterwards, because the rates on success are way, way, way more value per drive gauge spent than just spending 3 bars to get, like, you know, 500 more damage in a combo and a bit more super or whatever. So anyways, interesting notes that will be immediately relevant to you. There's some routes, so this route is good, whatever. I'm not going to get into the minutia of all this right now, of some of these findings, but I will say, in a broad sense, what I have discovered, some of the things that surprised me, but the math checks out. I've double-checked and triple-checked the math on all of these, and they make sense. If you land random lights, okay, so like random dive kick, or just lights, and you are past the midpoint of the screen, okay, it makes sense to do a level 1 super, and that will give you some of the highest value increase per super you can get. I put down here what happens, what your value per super is if you land these supers raw. So level 1, if you landed in mid-screen raw, it's like 2,556 value per super, which is outrageous. All these are outrageous. If you land level 1 raw and it gets you the corner, that's 3,560 value per super. If you land Level 2 raw, it's 1898 value per super, per bar of super. If you land level 3, it's slightly lower, 1813 value per super. If you land CA, it's a bit higher than level 2 raw, 2013 value per super. Maybe that's slightly debatable. I wasn't sure how to calculate the Oki for level 3, because you don't get Oki, but you kind of can dry rush in, whatever. Anyways, so rough, but regardless of if I change this number, like, 60, it would change it by a marginal fraction. It doesn't matter. So the important thing is that, as I said previously in my original optimizing Cammy video, that technically the highest rate of value per bar of super is landing 3 raw level 1s rather than 1 level 3. That would give you the most carry, damage, whatever, etc. all around per each bar of super. So, in any case, anything that's above 600 I put in the green, but ideally I would love to be aiming for 1,000 or higher. And some of the instances where you can land, for instance, one thing that I have discovered that I have not found much of a solution for is that if you're already in the corner and you land something that can go into stand heavy punch, it is very difficult to find a routing for there are almost no routes for super that are like particularly valuable for doing, because if you get like a shimmy and you can do just this route, that the value of doing this, like pre-season 2, you would have to get like that or drive rush to go into this. But now they've given you a free shimmy thing that you can easily do as a shimmy that still gets a unique corner combo that's basically as valuable as doing the actual corner routings like this. Or rather like this. Because this builds you way more super and way more drive gauge than any of those other routes. So, if you can land stand heavy punch, it is almost impossible to find a route that you can combo into super in the corner, and it's like actually worth it. So the best way, so all of the routes when you're already in the corner, the super gets like substantially worse and weaker and weaker and weaker. So you're hitting like fucking, where was I working on these? Yeah, so if you do like whatever into target combo level 1 minus, so that's negative value. You're getting negative value if you do the target combo into the level 1. If you do the fucking this one, which is that, you're getting only 400 value per super. Per bar of super, you're getting 800 value increase in the combo and divided by 2 because of the level 2 bars. So you're only getting that versus just doing the stand heavy punch target combo. If you come down to, I'm sure I did a level 3 route versus like the corner. Yeah, 2 level 3 routes, only 437 value per bar of super by comboing into level 3 in the corner when you could just do the stand heavy punch target combo. It is impossible to find like a great value addition. The highest value addition you can get off of a shimmy is if you can't, or off of rather a place where you could land stand heavy punch. So let's say you get like a meaty crouch fierce like that. This is one of the only situations where you can land you can spend super in a way that is actually pretty good. Because in this instance, if you can get raw back roundhouse and go into that and then spend off of one hit with low scaling, then that is a value increase per bar of super of fucking, where is it? Stanford background house, fucking jump cancel, this one, and it comes out to 553 value per bar of super, which is still below the 600 benchmark that I would like to be hitting, but that's the absolute highest value you can get off of a per bar of super, off of a super combo in the corner, where you could have otherwise just done heavy punch target combo, light spiral arrow, medium uppercut, whatever. So instead of using supers in places like that, and in the corner is especially because of her target combo and what it can do in this season, there's very few places to get like solid increases in value, just because the baseline value she gets is so outrageously high that supers and extra drive gauge don't really add much. But the best places in terms of value proposition, value added per resource spent, is off of lights. So if you land lights, just get 2 or 3 lights in the corner into level 1. I know it looks stupid. That is actually some of the highest value increase you can possibly get for a super, because you would previously just do that, which is like fucking like 1290 damage, and you get like whatever, like decent Oki or something, versus this, which is 1950 damage, and the value propensity, and you get a meaty crouch fierce off of this as well, so you still get a valuable Oki situation. In any case, yeah, so that is a relative increase of like 700 damage, and also you have to factor in the drive gauge damage that you're doing to the opponent, which, when you're constantly pressuring the opponent in the corner with crouch fierces on block, constantly draining their drive gauge on your combos too, will actually keep them pretty meter starved. So that is a very high rate of added value. I think I put it down here. Jabs, crouch light punch, level 1 is about 900 value per super if you're already in the corner, and about 1441 value per super. An insanely high rate of value per super if you're like in mid-screen and your regular light confirm won't corner them, but a level 1 will. So, that is some of the highest value. Level 1, off of lights, when you're at or near the corner, close enough to the corner for it to combo, and you could only otherwise just get lights into like medium spiral arrow or something. That is one of the best places to use a super. Level 1, simple, easy, whatever. Other places where supers are incredibly valuable, I have like a bunch of fucking routes here. As I said previously, a lot of the anything where you can get, so supers in like mid-screen are fantastic. Her super, like the main value for her supers is the corner carry that you get, which is why they get a lot weaker when you're already in the corner. But yeah, the other place where her level 1 especially is the most valuable is when you are in the corner and you get like a fucking like low forward drive rush. That is some of the highest value you can get for your resources, period. Taking yourself out of the corner, putting them into the corner, you get a meaty crouch fierce, and that's also some of the highest damage output you can get for this, because her level 1 routings are actually do their highest damage, period, off of side switch combos like that. Right? You could not do a forward-facing combo that hit just as hard. See, that does less. So, yeah, situations like that, if you get, like, an instant dive kick, whatever, that is an extremely high rate of value for your resources spent, for the drive gauge and the super. So, anyways, yes, the highest, like, the consistently, like, best places to spend your supers, where you'll get the actual, mathematically most bang for your buck, is off of lights, when your level 1 will corner, and you could only otherwise get that, off of side switch routes, like that, which there's quite a few of them that you can lab and go for, anything in mid-screen where doing the extra combo, doing the extra extension, especially with level 2, will reach the corner, are very valuable, especially if you get it in a circumstance where you didn't spend a drive rush cancel. So if you are in mid-screen and you get like a fucking... You either get like a jump in... So like that's an extremely high rate of value per resources spent. That's an extremely high value for resources spent, etc. So anything where you can land like these things raw by themselves, extremely good. And then there's also, if you're like anywhere around here and you get like... That also extremely high rate of value for a 4-bar route. You wouldn't do it if you were that low on drive gauge, but... Or maybe you would. I don't know, but... Very high value for a 4-bar route. And you get a higher value per drive gauge and per super than in most of these other combos that people usually do. Usually, if you are not already in the corner and you do like a level 3 route, the average value per bar of super for level 3s is like 500 to 600. And that's pretty consistent no matter what you do them with. So, yeah, level 3 is almost always 500 to 600 unless you're hitting it like very short into a combo, like 2 lights or stand, jab, counter hit, crouch strong level 3, or hitting it raw or whatever, in which the value is extremely high. But anyways, yeah. But the other place where both drive gauge and super increase the value of your conversions by insane margins is off of anti-airs. Okay? Back heavy kick and more specifically jump medium punch. Air-to-air jump medium punch has some of the most fucking outrageous value of value increase per drive gauge spent or per super spent out of anything you can possibly do. Because if you just get... Because it's where your routing is most limited, but also your meter expenditure is really good. So if the opponent is just like here, if you just normally air-to-air like that, you can just get like that, but... Yeah, you can get all sorts of stuff that will drastically increase the value of your conversion. Like add 1,500 damage to it and like half the stage of corner carry and stuff, especially off of level 2. Oh, right, and that's the other thing, is that if you are full or close to being full on drive gauge, the actual, some of the highest value propositions you can add to your combos is also off of lights. Especially if doing the drive rush cancel will allow you to corner the opponent like that. It's, again, much higher value than doing a drive rush cancel off of Stand Fierce, where you could have already just gotten this target combo. So anyways, yes, every single anti-air, back heavy punch, or jump medium punch, air-to-air conversion, or anti-air conversion, every single way in which you can transfer those into a side switch combo to corner the opponent, or do some corner carry, or some level 1, or some level 2 shit. All of those, outrageously worthwhile. The value proposition is through the fucking roof for all of these. Look at that. 1796 value per super, per bar of super, almost as much as landing a raw level 2. From just getting jump strong, jump level 2, medium spiral, whatever. So, yeah. Anyways, right, what else was I gonna say? Yeah, that's a lot of it. This is... If diff and full on drive gauge. Yeah, you get a pretty solid... So, like, off of... Crouch medium kick and crouch medium punch is when drive rush cancels are very good. Stand heavy punch, again, just do the target combo. And then, if you want to spend drive gauge, spend it on the Oki afterwards. Literally, I would say in the corner, if you get a shimmy in the corner and you have full drive gauge, I genuinely don't think it's worth it to spend. Like, I've checked the numbers over and over. It's more statistically worthwhile to just do this and then take Drive Rush Oki or something afterwards. Then spend Drive Rush to get, like, to put yourself -3 bars and put yourself, do a marginally better combo for that 3 bars that you spent. It is not as valuable per resource spent. Anyways, yeah, so those are, like, some of my most important findings from this giant fucking project I've been working on, measuring fucking everything, next to everything. But yes. Yes. Anyways, there's some other marginal things. There's some certain routes that are like, you know, whatever. I will continue working on this, but those are some of the big highlights. Lights, Drive Rush cancel, or level 1, or raw whatever. Supers, raw super, raw level 1 is great to do off of just like counter hit, stand jab, crouch strong, if it'll corner, etc. Jump strong, air to air. Your value proposition for spending drive gauge or super on air-to-air conversions is outrageously high. Back roundhouse as well, but I think air-to-air is probably more reliable. Yeah, again, like I said, lights. Supers are not usually worth spending in the corner. Off of, like, big hits, it makes more sense to do it off of your little hits, your little light taps and stuff, which Cammy is forced to get constantly. Any dive kick that she does, she can only check the opponent with lights, so you'll always have plenty of situations to land jab, level 1, which is one of her best ways of spending supers to augment her kit. Anyways, yeah. Those are some of the most important findings. Yes, indeed. Oh, also, because of some of the changes in Season 2, this combo is, like, functionally worthless now and never has a practical use anywhere. Getting back roundhouse, heavy drill, heavy uppercut, it fucking sucks now. Because there's always generally something that's more valuable to a significant margin. Anyways, yeah, that's good for now. Alright.